Welcome back to Terror by the Bay. I'm David. Okay, Ozzy Osbourne passed away a few days ago. I record this on Thursday, July 24th, with the intention of putting it up on midnight Sunday, the 27th. It would make sense that I would want to put this up on the midnight hour of the Sabbath. Gotcha covered there, Ozzy. So maybe not a little known fact, but a little known fact. I love heavy metal music. I have been to Metallica is the group I've seen the most in concert. I believe I've seen Metallica 4 times. First time in the mid to late 90s. The second time was when they played just before the Super Bowl in 2015. Third time, and I went with my son, who was, how old was John? He was about 15 years old, almost 16 years old at that point. Third time, John and I actually flew up to British Columbia to see them, and we hung out with friends up in Canada and caught them up there, and that was a great show. We got within 10 feet of the stage. And then the fourth time, Metallica did their Symphony in Metallica 2 concert when the Chase Center opened, and he and I went to that. We had third row seats. So I love me my Metallica, and I love me my heavy metal. Metallica opened up for Ozzy Osbourne, and they were lifelong Ozzy Osbourne fans and developed quite the friendship with Ozzy. Most people were introduced to Ozzy Osbourne when he was the front man for Black Sabbath, as opposed to Black Cat. Hey, Nico, how are you doing? So Nico's going to join us for Ozzy's tribute here. He then went on to do a successful solo career as well. He had Randy Rhoads was a guitarist that he made all sorts of great music with, which was popular when I was in high school. Randy Rhoads died tragically young when he and a pilot were in a small single-engine plane playing a practical joke on Ozzy, basically buzzing this small plane over Ozzy's bus while Ozzy was sleeping, and they misjudged their height and basically crashed the aircraft. And that's when Randy Rhoads passed on. Other folks know Ozzy Osbourne from the reality TV show involving he and his family. And when my son had messaged me to let me know Ozzy passed when I went on Facebook, it was neat to see people with their pictures of their interactions with Ozzy. A good friend of my wife had met Ozzy and had a picture of him that she had put up on her Facebook page. One of the local rock stations here had their tribute pictures with Ozzy, and it's just, the man. It was when I watched I didn't watch the Osbournes TV show. I would see clips of it. The stage persona versus who he was as a person were two different things. The mask he could put on when he was the Prince of Darkness, the energy that came out of that man, and then when he had it off, he was very much a man with skeletons in his closet and addiction issues, everything we all face. He was a true human being. And I think he did try to be true to himself. He failed, he sinned, he fell flat on his face. His wife was there to pick him up. Sometimes she picked him up more quickly than others. Sometimes she let him suffer the consequences of his choices. One time he got so drunk, I would say he blacked out, but he was threatening her life, something he didn't remember. Happened to happen in Russia. She let the cops come and arrest him, and he got held in a prison for a while she sorted out what she was going to do next. I guess another time he was, more recently, he was unfaithful to her. But she took him back in. But she made him suffer first. Made him suffer a little bit to understand the consequences of his actions. Again, a fully integral human being, both highs and lows. So I want to look at Ozzy Osbourne, and I want to get the general vibe of how he's doing right now, and then I want to ask what his life mission was, and we'll go with it from there. Okay? So I can't start this reading at 666, so we'll start it at 506. Come on down. Let's see what's going on. How is Ozzy doing? He's should have transitioned by now. Again, this will be for entertainment purposes only. And this reading is trying to be done in a most respectful manner. I'm not trying to exploit him, his family, or anything along those lines. I just want to see how Ozzy is doing. Foundation of the reading is the Knight of Swords. Charging forward, across with the King of Cups. And the first thing I think of emotions, and look at the strong emotions here, but I think also addictions. How to keep your life forward when you're challenged by addictions. But it's almost like his life lessons already worked in here. But he was a man of passion. That's what kept him driving. When he was passionate about something, he was unstoppable. But if he didn't have passion about that, when he sat down to take a drink, that's when problems were happening. In the past, you got the King of Swords. Once he found his purpose, he was pretty much unstoppable. Asking how he's doing now. Current situation is the Eight of Coins. I think he's doing his life review. He's looking at the value, all the things that happened in his life, both the good and the bad. What lessons did he learn while doing that? So I think he's doing his life review process. Now, mind you, for folks that have had NDEs, near-death experiences, they describe their time on being on the other side as immeasurable, undefined. There's no sense of time passing. It could be a day, it could be hours, it could be weeks, months, years, millennia. There's no way to know. And that would make sense. Why does that make sense? Using Einstein's theory of, the closer we get to the speed of light, the more time slows down to the point when you are traveling at the speed of light, time stops. It's non-existent. When you become, and as you go close to the speed of light, you also basically turn into energy. So if we die and our souls are pure energy, or like on the other side, there's no time because time's divided by zero. It becomes undefined. Okay. Overarching energy, Nine of Cups. Yeah, I think he's in his life review right now. Sitting there with his counsel behind him, watching his life review, looking at the lessons that he's learned, and evaluating it. Again, a man of purpose and passion. Lesson to be learned. Interesting. I wonder if this is going to come out with his and I probably should hold this one with lesson learned. Charity. Being of service, giving. Now, part of it is about health. You got pills here or coins. All instances seem to point that Ozzy was a fairly compassionate person. Again, he had his weaknesses, but being a selfish jerk didn't appear to be among them. If you hear people share stories about their interactions with Ozzy, they love him. They absolutely love the guy. Now, there might be times where Ozzy's absolutely pathetic because of his addiction issues, but that wasn't who he was as a person. This part of him was never like that. Ozzy never would have thought he was better than anybody else. And and this kind of looks like Ozzy too. He's got the right body shape. Ozzy was the type of person that was worried about what Ozzy did. He didn't really care about what other people did. He just wanted to do his own thing and not be a jerk to folks. Appropriate card at the end. Now, he was also, he was also working on health issues. On his last concert, he had to go off his drugs in order to, because he had Parkinson's, to do his last concert. To me, the death card also shows a rebirth because the sun is rising. He's done with his lifetime. He'll be done with his. If he's not already done, he will be done with his life reviews soon. I would not be surprised to see him reincarnate to come back. Okay, but he's doing all right now. Again, so I don't think he's in the hot place. I think he's in the heavenly place, and he's evaluating his life. And the good things that he did, and the self-destructive things that he did. and he'll learn about why was he doing self-destructive things, and what lessons did he learn from that? What lessons does he need to learn from that? All right, I said I was going to do this one, so let's go ahead. I'm sure there are many missions that Ozzy had to address in this world. What was one of the main missions? What was one of his main missions, reasons for coming down here? What was he supposed to experience? Little four-carder. Interesting. Ace of Swords. Having a purpose. Having a purpose and going forward with it. Justice. Acceptance. And messaging of values. Look at the major arcana underneath here, and an ace too. And underneath the call of the star card. You know, he definitely came down as a star. Big star. And he's one of those stars with a single name. You know you've got it made when you can go by a single name. He doesn't have to go by Ozzy Osbourne. If you said Ozzy, everybody knew who you were talking about. You know, Cher, Madonna, Ozzy. Somebody says, yeah, I'm going to go see Ozzy tonight. Even if it wasn't Ozzy, if your friend was named Ozzy, people are going to assume you're going to go see Ozzy Osbourne. Okay, Beyonce. Yeah, he was a star, and there was a purpose for that. Opening doors. Welcoming people in. I don't know, the Justice card, I don't know if he was a social justice warrior. He certainly had some legal problems that he had to deal with. But again, he seemed to have a message of values. I mentioned that earlier. I'd have to do a little bit more research to see about the charitable organizations. I might pause to do that. Let's see what we can find about Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne and the charitable organizations they did. What he basically did with his money. Hang on. Okay. Ozzy Osbourne has supported numerous charities throughout his career, including PETA, the Protection and Ethical Treatment of Animals, Save the Chimps, and various organizations focused on Parkinson's disease, which is what he was suffering from at the end. Children's hospice care and animal welfare. A lot of animal groups, a lot of animal things on here. And to throw that out there, his final act of generosity was before his death. Was revealed that as Black Sabbath's final performance, it's said to have raised 140 million pounds for charity. That's roughly $200 million. Okay, so coming back down, that in some ways that was his crusade. Let's see if he had any crusades. He didn't, per se. You know, it wasn't. He didn't have any, like, a lot of political stuff. So, you know, he wasn't Bono or anything along those lines. But he did things his own way with it to bring. Maybe this is more of a social justice type card, helping helping young people with diseases and values and things along those lines. You know, it's just a very generous soul. Now, one last one. What was one of the biggest challenges that Ozzy had to face? You know, not everything's peaches and cream. You know, you've got the things that you're supposed to do, but then you're challenged with something. Again, it looks like addiction, ego, self-destructive ego addiction type stuff is what he had to face. But let's see what the cards have to say about the challenge, his biggest challenge that he faced. Okay. Knight of Swords. How interesting, because I was saying he was rushing forward here. Maybe his impetuousness. There might be an impetuous nature about him. Oh, partying. The fast lifestyle. Partying. Breaking the heart of his wife and loved ones. And, you know, in some ways, there's the star card again. He was the hard-charging rock star. And while you got all the good stuff with it, you get the bad stuff too, the betrayals, whether it's drugs or fooling around on your loved ones. It's kind of the downside of being a hard charging rock and roller and being famous. So in some ways, the very things that the trappings that made the rock and roll lifestyle amazing are also the same challenges he had to face. Again, he was just a fully integral person. And he came across as a very humble person. He wasn't posh. I remember watching one scene where, and again, it was probably beyond the Osbournes, where he and Sharon were going to a concert. And he's complaining that he doesn't want to take the limo to the concert because he doesn't like limos. That's not who he is. He just wants to drive his own car there and be his own person. And his wife is explaining to him that, look, this is a persona. The fans are going to be expecting rock god Ozzy Osbourne to come rolling up to his concert in a limo, not in his own personal car. I know he's just, I say he's grumpy about it, but he's just like, he's kind of sullen. He's like, I don't want to do this. I just want to be myself. I don't want to be this fake person. I just want to be Ozzy. But, then they show the limo go by and it stops by some fans, and who pops out of the sunroof but the Prince of Darkness himself. Ah, everybody! The act is on, the stage is on, the persona's on. Blasts all these people around him. They love him. He drops back down in the car goes again, and he reverts back to Ozzy. So part of him was an integral person that he just wanted to be himself, but he had to put on this Prince of Darkness persona and take all this energy and channel it out, which I find really interesting because he seemed to be like a really quiet, private person who just wanted nice, quiet times. And then to watch him transform into the Prince of Darkness persona that was his stage presence is an amazing transformation. It's really interesting how much power was in this man. Okay, we'll leave it here. I think it's a pretty good reading. Thank you everyone for watching this video and supporting my channel. I appreciate it. This reading is for entertainment purposes only. God bless Ozzy. God bless Ozzy's family. I hope if you have never seen Ozzy, maybe make a little bit of time to find out a little bit more about him, and appreciate the good and the bad things and his successes and struggles in the world, because we all face those just like he did. Thanks again. I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.